Great. Hey, I'm Deb.
I'm Nick.
Nick, it's so good to meet you.
Great meeting you as well.
Thank you. And who do we have over here?
That's Juniper. She's our pointer mix. She's a guard dog. She guards the garden more so than anything. She scares off the deer and the rabbits, and she also catches rats and kills them for us, because those are the three biggest pests we have for the garden, aside from all of the critters like the bugs and worms and everything they like to get in there.
Right. So, folks, Riggin Farm is in Talking Rock, Georgia, about an hour outside Atlanta, would you say?
Yeah, depending on traffic and how lead-footed you are.
True. And as usual, I want you to understand like where good food comes from, what people do to bring us good food, and where you can go. Now, what farmers markets do you participate in?
Right now, our primary market is the Jasper Farmers Market in Jasper, Georgia. And then we also have a little setup here that we do a couple days a week. And when the market season is over, we open up our hours and extend them a little bit so that we can offer our goods year round, because we grow year round. We have animals, so we have meats that are good in the freezer for a really long time. So we always have plenty of those. Egg production slows down a little bit in the winter, but we still have eggs through the winter.
Okay.
And we're really beefing up our winter produce offerings this year. We have a lot of storage crops that we've either grown or are in the process of growing. We currently have about 4,000 bulbs of garlic that we recently harvested and cured and processed and cleaned up so that they're ready to go. The variety we chose was specific for flavor and also its longevity on the shelf. So it should last about 10 months after harvest.
Oh, that's cool. I tried growing garlic this past year, and I'm a new gardener, and I didn't realize you're supposed to cut those scapes off early. And I thought, oh, look, it's going to produce this flower and all this. So,
and it does.
It does. And I got garlic, but they're small.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that's really interesting about garlic, I'm not sure how interesting this is going to be for most people, but most plants, when you are able to harvest seeds or get cuttings off of something that has grown in this ecosystem, then the following year, that seed that you've gotten is going to do better because it's more climatized. So we actually saved some of our garlic for the following year. So we saved some garlic and planted that specifically to harvest just as seed garlic for this coming fall when we plant. And then we planted 60 pounds of seed garlic last year. We've only ordered 30 pounds to supplement what we are saving.
Wow.
With the hope that next year we'll be able to only use our garlic, and the seed garlic that we saved and replanted. Some of those, I can show you, some of those bulbs are like tennis ball size.
Oh my God.
Because
that's crazy.
They just have climatized and naturalized to this growing environment. So they're better suited for it. Typically, the bigger the clove you start with, the bigger the bulb you get. A lot of times when you order seed garlic, you'll get all these like little tiny cloves.
Right.
And so you're gonna get smaller bulbs. So some of ours, are probably like an ounce per clove. They're massive.
Jeez.
So we're hoping that we can get a lot of those tennis ball sized bulbs to sell next year. And we also put in probably about 700-800 sweet potato plants.
That's my favorite to grow. Nigel's smiling over there. I had a great sweet potato harvest last year, and this year I was able to grow slips from my harvest from last year. And so I'm a huge fan of the sweet potatoes. They're fairly easy to grow, I've found.
Yeah, and they're kind of one of those that they actually don't want a lot of fertility, because if you put in a lot of nitrogen, you end up with lots and lots of vine growth and very little sweet potato growth.
Oh.
So it's one of those that, it's after you've grown some of those heavy feeders, like maybe your brassicas like broccoli and cabbage and your lettuces, tomatoes, the fruiting things, you can put in sweet potatoes later, or even actually we pulled our garlic out of the beds that our sweet potatoes are in now. So like the garlic exhausted like the last of the nutrients in those beds. The sweet potatoes, we just amended with a little bit of kelp meal to give them some like minerals and some other like micronutrients to really facilitate their growth. And when we get up to the garden, I'll show you that they seem to be doing pretty well with that.
Oh, that's awesome. So before we go to the garden, what all do you produce here?
So we do over 200 produce varieties. Everything's seasonal. We're kind of dialing it in. I'm doing a lot of experimentation with what we enjoy growing, what does well for us, what our customers like, and focusing on flavor, nutrition, and just like ecology before anything else. So even though all the customers really like red tomatoes, we grow some red tomatoes just to give them the grocery store appearance. But we grow things that we know are going to be more delicious, nutritious, eco-friendly. And we also do, we grow, like I said earlier, year-round. So we have high tunnels that we're hoping to build another one this fall so that we can have a lot of stuff that we're going to be planting in the next coming months that will grow and get to size like kale and lettuces that will be kind of just in stasis in the high tunnel during the winter, because they're not really going to grow a whole lot, but they'll hold just fine in the ground. So we can go up and harvest heads of lettuce, pull leaves off of kale plants, and just have the fresh greens all winter long. We also do microgreens year-round indoor, which you're probably aware are quite nutritious.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we've experimented with 6 different varieties, and we've just dialed it into doing purple radish, broccoli, and arugula. So those are the 3 that we are selling now. We're open to other things, but those seem to be the 3 for now.
Well, talk a moment about regenerative farming, because people hear that word, they don't always know what it means. So talk about, because that's where my passion is. As a naturopath, I have to understand this is all connected. We are connected with all aspects of nature, and so our soil is dying, And talk about regenerative farming and what's different.
Yeah, so there's not a legal definition of regenerative farming. There are actually a lot of very conventional farms that are legally able to use that term because they use cover crops in between their cash crops, and that is technically a regenerative method.
Well, let's just talk about like the ideal of regenerative farming, like Will Harris is doing, with White Oak Pastures.
Yeah, so for us, the primary focus is soil health. And that goes not just in the garden, but also in our pastures, which are not at all what we want them to be right now, but we're in the process of turning this extremely dead, acidic, compact clay and turning it into lush pasture. So you have to add organic matter in that. And right now, what that looks like is we're bringing in hay. As you pulled in, you probably saw we have a couple bales of hay. We are still bringing in hay despite it being a really wet summer, like really good optimal grass growing conditions. But we're doing that because we really need the health of the grass and the legumes and everything that are there to have as much of a fighting chance as possible to really establish the roots and perennialize so that we will be less and less reliant on outside inputs to get to a place where we're completely self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So the way we feed our hay is not necessarily the most efficient way that a lot of conventional farmers would feed their hay. We a lot of times will take the bale and we'll just roll it out, and it might go 400, 500, 600 feet. And what happens is the cows will eat a lot of it, but a lot of it gets pooped on and stepped on, and it decomposes. It basically composts and then leaves this really rich organic matter on the surface of that clay. And then we go through and add essentially cover crops. We've put in daikon radish and field turnips that really help break up the compact clay. And then sometimes the cows will actually pull them out of the ground and eat them. But otherwise they just stay there, and then they end up rotting and decomposing, and it helps aerate the soil naturally, breaks up the compaction, adds organic matter. We put in legumes. So in the summer we put in, cowpeas, and then we do like a lot of clovers and alfalfa in the winter, and the fall going into winter. And all of those legumes bring in nitrogen from the atmosphere, and then they put out these little root nodules that create available nitrogen for the other plants, so that we're not having to fertilize. Like between the nitrifying inputs and then the manure and compost that's just kind of naturally happening as a way of life, we're adding nitrogen to the soil so that we don't have to spray any kind of or put in any synthetics to help the grass grow.